A sheep has been circling our house for 3 days. My father refuses to get close to it, and now I know why. I didn't want to post this, but for your sake, you'll understand why I had to. Just to give you an idea of the shit situation I stuck myself in, I live in Pine Haven, one of those dead-end towns tucked deep into northern Michigan, where the pine trees grow so thick and tall that the sun disappears around 4 p.m. and the fog is almost endless. There isn't much to see here, and if you call 911 out here, the county sheriff's office is 30 minutes away on a good day. If the weather is shitty, you're on your own. I've lived here my whole life, and whenever I asked my dad why we can't move somewhere more fun, he used the same excuse every time. Small towns are safer anyway, but the black tree line and scattered long grass surrounding our house didn't help my brain to come up with less safe situations. Now, all this started 3 nights ago. When I turned off the TV to go to bed, it was just over 1 a.m. on a weekend night. The bed wouldn't usually see me so early, but I went hunting with my dad that day. The soreness of walking and managing a 10-pound hunting rifle for hours lowered my energies in ways I'm too embarrassed to mention. I went to shut the blinds, but when I took a look, I saw something move around the tall grass just outside the window. It wouldn't have been a surprise to see an animal around there, but I focused my eyes to see what that was anyway. My eyes slowly got used to the darker spot, and there it was. A sheep. A sheep that paced towards the outer side of my house, as if it was circling it to look for something forgotten. It looks lost, I remember thinking. I shrugged it off and closed the blinds. There is a farm nearby. They would get it tomorrow. And tomorrow came, the sheep wasn't there, so I just assumed they took it back where it came from. I didn't need to mention it to my parents. But that night was the second time I saw it. I looked out the window in search of stars, but all I got was the moon and some clouds. It couldn't be any earlier than 2 a.m., and I was already pissed at the amount of time I lost. The grass catched my attention, and I looked at it for a minute before making out the silhouette. The sheep came back. There was no way it was a different sheep. What are the chances of 2 sheep going missing, end up behind my house, and circle it in different directions in 2 different days? I tried to study it. There was something wrong with it. Its movements were slow, too slow. It was hard to see from my spot, but I swear it walked wonky, as in the sheep went too low or too high whenever it took a step. I thought it was hurt. I now know it wasn't. I touched my chest. I felt it become heavy under those unmoving eyes, and then a hollow drop deep in my stomach made me feel like I lost all strength to my limbs. To make it more clear, it's the same feeling of getting told off as a child in front of your class, maybe mixed in with hitting your little cousin so hard without noticing that he starts crying. But to be honest with y'all, I wasn't ready to commit to a potential half-hour mental crisis for why a sheep circling my house was giving me high paranoia, so I just dropped the blinds and turned to face my bed instead. I woke up with cold sweat running down my forehead. If I wasn't old enough, I'd think the pool of sweat that almost glued me to the mattress was piss. That's how bad of a mood I had at the crack of dawn. I couldn't even go back to sleep properly. That made me cranky the whole walk around the gas station. I don't remember my friend's exact words, jail me, but it went something like, "Bro, you look like ass and you smell like ass. At least I slept like shit to look like this. Why a sheep keeps walking around my house and I can't look at it or else I will get a mental breakdown. Did you not see it around your place? Bro, you ARE tripping balls." First off, that pissed me off. I tried to drown that one in the lake before heading home. He's fine, unfortunately. Second, I'm not on drugs. I'm underage. What I saw was real. That animal was going around my place for no reason, and it was turning me insane. I was starting to actually look insane to my friends, too. I went home and told my dad everything. He laughed, told me not to worry, and that they will get that sheep at some point. but I begged him to at least come and see for himself. I didn't want to sound insane to my parents too. Not over this. My mom convinced him to humor me. I'm not fucking 10 anymore, I wasn't having fun, and I wasn't joking. But whatever. I went back to my room and took the rest of the day to play video games. I thought there was a chance that the sheep wouldn't show up that night anyway, given how my luck plays in my favor usually. I was already imagining how much of a fool I'd look like to my dad, and how my friends will call me the nutcase of the class for a month for thinking a sheep has some sort of obsession with me. While I was at it, the dark came, and so I went up to my windows. Nothing, of course, it's too early. All right, I'll kill myself. I thought, and I know it's dramatic, but that's how I felt. I turned. The sight of my room comforted me. I did think that I should have called my dad and tell him to forget it, but once I convinced myself to do it, I heard him knock on my door. He opened it without waiting for a response. He told me to show him that weird sheep, but at that moment, all I wanted to do was die. I moved to the side, dropping dramatically on my chair. My dad went to look out the window, but before he could laugh at me, I made sure to speak first. You know, that thing usually walks by when you are deep in your snoring. I don't think you'll get to see it, I joked. But my dad was silent. I turned to look at him. His eyes were wide, and his hands trembled as he tightly held onto the window's frame. I've never seen him turn so pale. When I walked close, I saw him sweat, then rub a shaking hand on his forehead. He whispered something under his breath. No. I didn't. I didn't. He repeated it, like to convince himself that he didn't do anything. I walked close to him, and for the third time, just yesterday, I saw that sheep. Its unmoving eyes stared straight into my dad's ones. I tried not to focus on it, but something dragged my eyes towards it. Must have been curiosity, or the steel-cold chill that ran up my spine that froze my neck. I don't know what it was, but I wanted that sheep gone. Dad, it needs to leave. I said to him. Maybe I slapped him, or maybe I pushed him. I don't remember what made him snap his head towards me so fast. But instead of saying anything, he went to close the blinds and push me away from the windows. I felt like I could move again, but my bones were like jelly. I think the only thing holding me up was my dad. No, we are not moving it. My dad sounded stern, but more than that, he sounded afraid. Leave it alone. I don't remember if he said something else. He just left me there, with twice more questions. It wasn't 12 a.m. It wouldn't show up any earlier the last 2 times. I felt paranoid, and maybe I started to think that thing was waiting for my dad to catch up. All those unsafe scenarios did not include an animal as stupid as a sheep to be the main terror. They didn't get me ready for this. I heard lightnings. All I missed was a summer storm to make this as fucking painful to handle as possible. By the time I decided my fate, 1 a.m. hit, so I went out. I didn't care if my parents were awake or not. All I needed was to sleep peacefully without thinking about what stands outside my window. When I reached the backyard, I could finally see the full silhouette of the animal. I didn't like how heavy the weight on my chest became, or how my hands and knees started shaking on their own. It was a stupid sheep. The mental breakdowns, or long search for the reason why I felt so judged or guilty while looking at it, weren't worth the time or the effort. I just needed it gone. I couldn't just leave it there. I turned on my phone's flashlight and hoped to scare it away. But I got the opposite. It stopped, stood there, and watched me from his spot in between the grass. "Hey, you must be lost. I can help you find a good farm," I said, taking a few steps forward. I was finally close enough to notice that despite the tall grass, that sheep was weirdly big, and its eyes were not only fixed on the light, but the pupils looked dilated and dull. When I pointed the flashlight right at them, it didn't flinch or move. I felt my stomach drop, then a cold chill, as if that sheep's eyes were able to slip straight ice cubes under my shirt. My body locked into high alert when I realized something was deeply wrong, and not the level of wrong I thought when standing behind my window. When I turned to look at the house, I sensed that my body betrayed me. I looked back at the animal, and out of panic, my phone slipped from my hands, right into the ground. Now bear with me, it was dark and I was tired. This is all I can recall from that moment on. The sheep stood up on two legs, but the joints bent entirely wrong. Its wool wasn't attached to skin. It looked matted, dirty, draped unnaturally over two massive, bare shoulders. No sheep has broad shoulders, or dark skin with thick and grayish veins bulging on massive arms. Even worse, when its jaw dropped open, I saw this pit of total black in his mouth that put a breath-cutting feeling of dread in me. That's what it was. It was not an animal. The sheep's body was used as a blanket. What hid under was skin full of white surgical scars. It towered over me like a 7-foot beast. I froze with fear. My dad was right. This thing smelt like blood, sweat, and rotting corpses. Its eyes, the only clear visible feature in a wall of shadow, were emotionless and empty and dead. So dead. It took a heavy breath, but his empty mouth never closed. I saw that thing move closer, its eyes fixed on me. I could hear my heart beat in my ears, and my breath come out shallow. I couldn't move, not even an inch. Only when I heard a creaking sound coming from far behind me did I grow the balls to move my head, just slightly, towards the door. The back door was left open. A shadowy figure stood behind it, fear stuck in its eyes. I tried to focus quickly. My dad. I snapped towards the thing, its eyes fixed on my dad, wide and full of lightless spark. It wanted my dad. I screamed for him to run, but there was nothing else I could do. I remember that thing pushed me down with the strength of a bison's herd. I hit the ground quickly and loudly. My head must have taken the strongest hit, because all I can recall from then is the wet ground beneath me, fast water drops blurring my vision more than it already was, and the back door right open. I had a ringing in my ears that followed me until I woke up this morning. I woke up on the sofa, my head wrapped in bandages and with a new shirt and pants. My mom sat beside my feet, looking pale and shaken. 2 police officers took a seat right in front of us. I heard multiple people walk around me, but my mom told me to not mind them. This morning I learned that my dad got taken away by that thing. My mom tried to keep her composure while explaining what happened with a shaky voice. I saw him get jumped and knocked out, then dragged out the house on that creature's shoulder. The way she explained it made me think of the times me and Dad came back with dinner. My dad used to have a turkey dangle over his shoulders while I kept 2 rabbits in my hands. I feel sick as I write this, actually. I think I became insane. Everybody left a few hours ago. All we got was a lookout for strange men. If that is what a man sounds to them, god damn. That's when my mom spoke to me. Your dad has sinned in his past. It's a story I can't tell right now. But I need you to keep being a good kid for this reason. I don't think I ever wanted to be good more than I am right now. This is what I'm trying to tell y'all. If you see a weird animal, leave it alone. If your first instinct is to move it, leave it alone. If it makes you feel crazy or judged, leave it alone.